Secrets, betrayals, and hidden agendas. These three things can wreck a person's life overnight. In the charming suburban town of Brookfield Heights, on what appeared to be an ordinary afternoon, a single online post shattered the illusion of serenity. A mistress, bold and relentless, claimed she was pregnant with a married man's child, flaunting an ultrasound for the world to see. But the real storm was yet to come. The legitimately pregnant wife, carrying her husband's baby, arrived, holding not only her newborn in her arms, but also indisputable DNA proof. Brace yourself, because every layer of this saga unravels explosive truths no one ever expected. Olivia Harrington had always thought that if she worked hard, loved fiercely, and prayed daily, life would reward her with stability and happiness. Raised in a strict but caring household in Brookfield Heights, she was the oldest of three daughters and the pride of her parents, Richard and Victoria Ambrose. From an early age, she had shown a remarkable sense of responsibility. She was that girl who never missed a homework assignment, who helped her mother bake cookies for the church's charity fairs, and who dreamt of a fairy tale wedding for herself one day. Her dreams seemed to come true when she met Ethan Harrington, a charismatic lawyer who was building a name for himself by representing local businesses. Tall, with hair the color of chestnuts and an infectious grin, Ethan swept Olivia off her feet. While their courtship was short, a whirlwind romance that caught both families off guard, they exchanged vows in a grand ceremony. Everyone who witnessed that wedding believed they were the embodiment of love and success. Olivia's parents were proud to see their responsible daughter marry a man with such promise, and Ethan's mother, Adeline Harrington, boasted that her son had found his perfect partner. For the first few years of marriage, life was pure bliss. They moved into a spacious home on Maplewood Lane, where the backyard boasted a small garden Olivia nurtured with tender love. She spent her weekends planting roses, daisies, and even exotic blue hydrangeas. Ethan, in turn, worked late into most nights negotiating deals, writing briefs, and meeting clients for coffee at the local cafe. The couple's only complaint was that their schedules left them little time together, but they both believed their sacrifices would pay off. Stability and wealth would be theirs, and once they had children, they could finally slow down. Little did Olivia know that in the shadows of her seemingly perfect marriage lurked betrayal. Ethan's relentless ambition and constant networking became the gateway to a clandestine affair. Enter Tiffany Caldwell, a social media influencer known for her luxurious lifestyle content and rumored connections to various high-profile men. With an eye for style, a taste for designer purses, and a cunning sense of opportunity, Tiffany had set her sights on Ethan from the moment they crossed paths at a business event downtown. Tiffany was no ordinary social media personality. Born Tiffany Brooks in a modest neighborhood, she had reinvented herself through strategic alliances and bold moves that elevated her from anonymity to local celebrity. When she introduced herself to Ethan, the casual greeting was anything but accidental. She had recognized him from a local press release about an up-and-coming attorney who'd recently won a high-stakes property dispute case. To Tiffany, Ethan looked like the next rung on her ladder of influence, a man with both social standing and financial resources. Ethan, flattered by Tiffany's attention, initially dismissed it as harmless flirtation. After all, he was a married man. However, Tiffany had a mesmerizing charm. She possessed a blend of vulnerability and confidence that made men feel protective and intrigued simultaneously. She would turn up unannounced at his office by coincidence, each time, claiming she was just in the neighborhood dropping off brand collaboration packages. Then she'd invite Ethan for coffee, want to pick his brain about legal advice for a friend's business, or ask him to join one of her lavish influencer parties. Ethan, who had always enjoyed being the center of attention, got lured in by her glitzy world. The late nights, fueled by flattery and an undercurrent of desire, led to secret dinners and eventually an affair. It happened so slowly that Ethan convinced himself it was something he could handle, a fleeting escape from the pressures of his burgeoning career and the demands of married life. He rationalized his betrayal. Once work slows down, I'll end this. Olivia doesn't need to know. But as the weeks turned into months, Tiffany's hold on him grew stronger. Meanwhile, Olivia remained blissfully unaware. She was too busy with her own job as a junior interior designer. She had also started volunteering at the local community center. The free time that might have led her to question Ethan's late nights was instead spent helping underprivileged kids paint murals or visiting her parents to share tea and conversation. Occasionally, she would notice Ethan on his phone, more often than usual, texting fervently or taking calls in hushed tones. But she chalked it up to high-stakes negotiations at his law firm. In the third year of their marriage, Olivia discovered she was pregnant. The two pink lines on the test felt like a confetti cannon going off in her heart. She squealed with joy and rushed to prepare a grand surprise for Ethan. She set up the dining room table with a tiny pair of baby shoes, a homemade sign that read, "Daddy-to-be," and a small box containing the pregnancy test wrapped in gift paper. When Ethan walked in that evening, exhausted from a day of court filings and discreet rendezvous with Tiffany, he barely looked up from his phone. Yet once he saw the baby shoes and the sign, his face transformed. Fear, delight, and guilt battled for dominance in his expression. Ultimately, he found enough composure to pull Olivia into his arms, letting out a breathy laugh and congratulating her. He even shed a tear, which Olivia interpreted as happiness. In truth, it was more complicated. He was overwhelmed by the knowledge that he was now a father, while also entangled in an affair. For a few weeks, it seemed, Ethan tried to distance himself from Tiffany. He claimed to be swamped and rarely answered her late-night calls. At home, he made more of an effort, cooking Olivia's favorite meals, discussing baby names, and rubbing her feet after a long day. It was a period where Olivia felt truly cherished. She believed that the pregnancy had shifted their priorities, drawing them back together. But Tiffany wasn't one to let go easily. She showed up at his office again, draping her arms around his shoulders, whispering provocations into his ear. In a corner booth at a local cafe, they argued in hushed tones when Ethan tried to cut ties. Tiffany's eyes narrowed, her painted lips curving into a dangerous smirk. "You don't just walk away from me," she warned, her voice trembling with anger. "You owe me more than that." Days later, she posted a cryptic Instagram story, a picture of a cocktail, and a caption that read, "When you discover someone's living a double life." Watch this. Space. Ethan saw it and felt a cold dread seep into his bones. He hurried to reassure Tiffany, taking her out to an exclusive lounge, lavishing her with compliments and the promise of continued support. The cycle of guilt, desire, and blackmail continued, each rotation binding Ethan tighter. As Olivia's belly grew, so did her suspicions. Ethan's behavior grew more erratic. Some nights he was affectionate and attentive. Other nights he was distant, lost in a world of worry she couldn't penetrate. A turning point arrived when she stumbled upon a lipstick-stained wine glass in the back seat of his car. Olivia knew her brand of lipstick, and this color was definitely not hers. She confronted Ethan, tears brimming in her eyes, asking for an explanation. He replied with a carefully spun lie about a work colleague he gave a ride home. Olivia let it go, but an ache settled in her chest. Meanwhile, Tiffany escalated her demands. She wanted more than midnight rendezvous, she wanted commitment. She was confident that if she threatened him enough, Ethan would leave Olivia. But her plan backfired when she realized Ethan refused to break up his marriage over her. Determined to force his hand, Tiffany came up with an even more dramatic approach. She would post an ultrasound, claiming she was pregnant with his child. Tiffany had a friend who worked in a small, private clinic. Through manipulative charm and undisclosed favors, she managed to secure a set of ultrasound images that belonged to an acquaintance who actually was pregnant. Tiffany doctored the name on the report, digitally replaced it with her own, and then arranged a glamorous photo shoot where she held the ultrasound to her stomach, her eyes filled with feigned maternal glow. She timed the release perfectly, a Sunday afternoon, right when the local online communities were most active. Her caption read, "A miracle I never saw coming. God blessed, wash." Nudie, Ethan Harrington, the final hashtag, an explosive bomb that attached Ethan's name to her claim. Within minutes, the post went viral in Brookfield Heights and beyond. Comments flooded in. OMG. Congratulations. Wait, is she serious? That's Olivia's husband. Tiffany always knows how to pick them, doesn't she? Gossip pages reshared it. Close friends texted Olivia to ask if she was all right. But Olivia hadn't seen it yet. She was busy enjoying a Sunday brunch with her parents. When word finally reached Olivia, it was from her sister, Jade Ambrose, who called in a panic. Jade, always protective of her older sister, spoke in a rush. "Liv, you need to see this. Tiffany Caldwell posted something on Instagram. She's claiming she's pregnant with Ethan's baby." The phone nearly slipped from Olivia's grasp. She pressed Jade for details, her voice trembling. Jade apologized profusely for being the bearer of bad news, urging Olivia to confront Ethan. In a daze, Olivia opened Tiffany's page. The sight of the ultrasound post, combined with the explicit mention of her husband's name, caused her to feel a wave of nausea. Her own pregnancy belly loomed in her reflection on the phone screen. Tears blurred her vision. She scrolled through the comments, each malicious or pitying remark chiseling away at her sense of reality. Her hands trembled so violently that she almost dropped her phone. She couldn't breathe. Was this real? Had Ethan been lying to her all along? Yet before despair consumed her, Olivia felt a spark of anger. Something about the image, the angles, and the editing felt staged. She remembered how thorough her own medical checkups had been. The date on Tiffany's ultrasound was suspiciously close to her own timelines. Olivia dialed Ethan's number. He didn't pick up. Her texts went unanswered. Instead of spiraling, Olivia chose a different path action. She texted her close friend, Dr. Beatrice Monroe, an OB-GYN at Brookfield General Hospital. She asked if it was possible to verify an ultrasound's authenticity or get a sense of the gestational age from the images. Dr. Monroe responded that while it could be tricky, often there are identifying markers on the ultrasound, including patient ID or the name of the clinic. She asked Olivia to send the image, which Olivia did with reluctance. Within minutes, Dr. Monroe replied, "This might not even be Tiffany's. Looks altered. I need more context." That was enough for Olivia to suspect foul play. She might have been naive about her husband's fidelity, but she wasn't blind to the fact that Tiffany could be staging this entire charade for clout or money. Ethan stumbled through the front door that night, looking like a man who had fought battles on multiple fronts. His shirt was wrinkled, sweat gathered at his temples, and his eyes darted around as if searching for a refuge in his own home. Olivia stood in the hallway, arms crossed over her pregnant belly. Her face was streaked with tears, yet there was a fierce determination burning in her eyes. "What is going on?" she demanded, her voice shaky but resolute. She held up her phone, the ultrasound post displayed like a piece of incriminating evidence. "Is she telling the truth?" Ethan sighed, massaging the bridge of his nose. He mumbled denials at first. "She's lying. She's not pregnant. She's just trying to cause drama." The more he spoke, the more tangled his words became. Finally, he admitted to an affair, but insisted it ended weeks ago. "I swear, Olivia, it was a mistake, but I never meant for it to jeopardize our marriage." He dropped to his knees, placing his hands on Olivia's stomach as tears fell from his eyes. "I love you. I want this family." Olivia's heart was torn. She felt betrayal, rage, and heartbreak swirl inside her, but overshadowing everything was her maternal instinct to protect her unborn child. She demanded a full confession. Ethan hesitated, then told her about Tiffany's manipulations, her threats, and her need for attention. "She's not pregnant," he repeated, "and that ultrasound is a sham, I know it." Yet Olivia was no longer the trusting wife. "If it's a sham, prove it," she hissed. "Show me whatever evidence you have that this woman has been lying." Ethan nodded fervently, promising to handle it. But as he left to make phone calls and consult with colleagues, Olivia knew that the cracks in their marriage ran deep. Even if Tiffany had faked the pregnancy, Ethan had betrayed his vows in the most intimate way possible. The next day, local gossip channels exploded with updates, speculations, and swirling rumors. Some reporters tried to contact Olivia directly. She declined to speak, finding solace in the walls of her home and the quiet support of her family. Jade came over with groceries and prepared comforting meals, while their mother Victoria hovered on video calls, worried that the stress might harm Olivia's pregnancy. Ethan reached out to Tiffany by phone, text, and email. She responded with cryptic messages, "I'm pregnant. Deal with it. And you owe me, Ethan." He tried to arrange a meeting in a public place, but Tiffany refused. Instead, she posted another social media update, a staged photo in what looked like a waiting room, claiming she was at her OB appointment. In the background, an unsuspecting nurse walked by, but the shot was carefully cropped to hide the clinic's name. Word traveled fast. Some of Tiffany's die-hard followers started sending hateful messages to Olivia, accusing her of trying to push Tiffany aside. "Ethan obviously loves Tiffany. If he got her pregnant," one anonymous comment read. "Stop acting like the victim," said another. Yet just as many rallied around Olivia, calling Tiffany a homewrecker. The online war raged, with each side spewing vitriol, fueled by half-truths and speculation. Desperate to clear his name and calm Olivia, Ethan enlisted his longtime mentor, attorney Michael Langston, known in Brookfield Heights for navigating delicate legal matters. They discussed possible defamation suits or cease and desist letters. However, Tiffany's digital evidence seemed to hold some water, and the problem was that no one but Tiffany knew its origin. "If you can prove the ultrasound is fake, that would help," Michael advised. "But you need to tread carefully. Any misstep, and she could twist it into another publicity stunt." Meanwhile, Olivia made a quiet decision. She would get a paternity test as soon as her baby was born. That same day, she also prepared a folder of her prenatal medical records, ultrasound images, and everything that documented her own pregnancy timeline. She wanted no room for doubt when the time came to confront Tiffany publicly. As her due date drew closer, Olivia found herself consumed with anxiety. She was torn between heartbreak and practicality. She attended birthing classes alone because she couldn't bear Ethan's presence at times, though she had not barred him from joining. Each day brought a different emotional temperature. Some days she loathed him for betraying her. Other days she remembered the man she loved, the father of her unborn child, and softened enough to let him hold her hand during prenatal checkups. Ethan tried to make amends, cutting off all contact with Tiffany and focusing on Olivia's well-being. He accompanied her to a few obstetric appointments, helped assemble the nursery furniture, and even read up on birth plans. But in the back of his mind, the fear of Tiffany's next move haunted him. Her silence on social media after the initial flurry of provocative posts was even more unnerving. He worried about a bigger reveal or a more devastating scheme. Tiffany, on the other hand, was plotting her grand finale. She relished the attention and had made a small fortune from brand endorsements after her pregnancy announcement. She teased her followers with subtle hints of a baby shower brand, collaborations for maternity clothes, and invitations to an exclusive pregnancy reveal party. She called the event Tiffany's Next Chapter, set to take place at a chic downtown venue, the Gilded Hall. Invitations circulated, and it promised to be a glamorous affair. Celebrity stylists and local news anchors were rumored to attend. Tiffany intended this spectacle to be her final triumph. She would parade around in a figure-hugging dress, flatter her supposed baby bump, and reveal more details that would apparently cement Ethan's role as the father. She dreamed of overshadowing Olivia entirely, maybe even forcing Ethan to stand by her side that night. While Tiffany plotted her baby shower event, Olivia's water broke 3 weeks before her expected due date. It happened on a tranquil Tuesday morning. Olivia was in the kitchen sipping herbal tea when a sharp contraction tore through her. A rush of fluid followed, and she felt both alarmed and strangely calm. She called out to Jade, who was visiting, and Jade promptly dialed Ethan and the hospital. Despite the tumult between them, Ethan raced to the hospital as soon as he heard Olivia was in labor. He arrived just as the medical staff were whisking her into a labor room. Olivia's face, glistening with sweat and tears, lit up briefly when Ethan gripped her hand. The tension that had defined their recent relationship dissipated, replaced by the primal urgency of bringing a child into the world. Hours later, Olivia gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The cries that rang out in the delivery room brought tears to nearly everyone's eyes, including the usually stoic Dr. Monroe. Ethan held his son for the first time, sobbing softly as Olivia, exhausted yet elated, smiled weakly. The child had Olivia's button nose and, intriguingly, Ethan's intense green eyes. For a moment, it seemed all the heartbreak, lies, and drama melted away in the face of this new life. But life rarely grants a peaceful respite without a catch. As soon as mother and child were deemed stable, Ethan and Olivia had a crucial test performed, a DNA paternity test. Both were determined to quell any future claims or doubts. Olivia refused to bring her son into a war of rumors. The lab technician, discreet but professional, promised swift results. That evening, Jade posted a heartfelt announcement on social media about the new arrival to the family. Within minutes, Tiffany's feed erupted in cryptic posts. "Timing is everything," she wrote, followed by, "Some people will do anything to stay relevant." But the biggest shock came the following morning when Tiffany claimed that she too was in the hospital having gone into early labor. She posted a photograph of a hospital corridor and captioned it, "Pray for me and my baby. Miracles, ha, Ethan Harrington." People went wild with speculation. Had she truly delivered a premature baby? Was Ethan now father to two children at once? In reality, Tiffany wasn't in labor. She had bribed a part-time nurse to snap a photo of the empty corridor in exchange for a hefty payment, then used it to further her charade. She spent the night in a luxury hotel suite, fielding phone calls and messages from anxious followers, all hungry for updates about her newborn. Even some local tabloids started reporting rumors that Ethan Harrington's mistress had delivered a baby the same night as his wife. The sensational headlines read, "Two babies, one father." Same day. The ruse was so brazen that it frightened Ethan. Until now, her claims had been intangible, involving just an ultrasound. But if Tiffany faked an actual birth, it could lead to a whole new slew of complications: birth certificates, hospital records, and false identity claims. It was a ticking time bomb, and Ethan felt powerless, especially while trying to care for Olivia and their newborn, whom they had named Jameson. Ethan confided in Michael Langston, who immediately drafted legal letters to Tiffany demanding cessation of all false claims and threats of a defamation lawsuit. Yet they had little faith she would heed the warning. Tiffany, riding the wave of public attention, was unstoppable. She knew the system well enough to exploit the time it would take for legal action to catch up. While Ethan grappled with Tiffany, Olivia focused on nurturing Jameson. The heartbreak of her husband's betrayal still gnawed at her, but motherhood provided a resilience she never knew she had. Breastfeeding, changing diapers, and sleeping in short intervals left her exhausted yet strangely grounded. The incessant drama swirling outside felt both distant and dangerously close, but she found strength in her baby's gentle coos. All the while she awaited the paternity test results, which would at least give her one piece of clear truth in this tangled mess. She also arranged an informal meeting with Dr. Beatrice Monroe to discuss Tiffany's pregnancy claims. Dr. Monroe, armed with knowledge of how prenatal records, ultrasounds, and maternity wards operate, offered to discreetly investigate any credible rumor of Tiffany's admission to local hospitals. A week after Jameson's birth, the paternity test results arrived. Ethan paced the hallway outside Olivia's hospital room, the sealed envelope in hand. Jade, who had been as supportive as ever, stood by Olivia's side. No one spoke until Ethan tore open the envelope, scanning the contents. His eyes flickered with relief. Jameson was indisputably his son, a 99.99% match. It was the confirmation Olivia had known deep down all along, but still needed to see in black and white. Olivia let out a breath she'd been holding. Even though she had no real reason to doubt the child's paternity, the swirl of Tiffany's accusations had shaken her confidence. Now, she finally had the absolute truth. Ethan sank into a chair, tears of relief trailing down his face. "Thank you," he whispered to Olivia, though she wasn't sure what he was thankful for. Exactly, maybe the chance to be a father, or perhaps for not shutting him out completely. But forgiveness was a different story. Soon after they received another piece of crucial news, Dr. Monroe had quietly checked with several hospitals in the region. None had admitted a Tiffany Caldwell for childbirth. This confirmed their suspicions that her labor announcement was a sham. However, rumors continued to run wild. Some said Tiffany had traveled to a fancy, out-of-state clinic. Others believed she had lost the baby, but was hiding her grief. Tiffany herself remained coy, posting emotional quotes and photos of baby blankets, never once showing a newborn's face. Still, the public perception was that Tiffany had either delivered or was about to. For many people, no concrete evidence could disprove her claims. That was until Olivia decided she'd had enough. She told Ethan, "I won't let her overshadow our child's birth and our future. We're going to confront her publicly if necessary." Though her voice trembled, it was fueled by a mother's resolve. She was determined to protect Jameson's legacy and her own dignity. A month passed. Tiffany, emboldened by the sympathy she was receiving, scheduled a grand baby shower celebration at the Gilded Hall, though it seemed strange to hold a baby shower after one supposedly already had the baby. No one knew if the baby had arrived or if she was still pregnant. Her inconsistent online posts only fueled the mystery. The event was designed to catapult her to greater fame, featuring a guest list of influencers, local news personalities, and anyone who could amplify her story. When word reached Olivia that Tiffany was throwing this spectacle, her first instinct was to recoil. The last thing she needed recovering from childbirth was to be in the same room as Tiffany. But then a plan began to form. With Ethan's help, and under Michael Langston's watchful eye, they plotted a reveal that would expose Tiffany's lies once and for all. On the day of the event, Tiffany arrived in a glittering, form-fitting gown, made to look as though she was still heavily pregnant. The lights sparkled off her sequined bodice, and she wore a delicate tiara as though she were queen of Brookfield Heights. Photographers snapped away, capturing her triumphant smile. She kept one hand on her belly at all times, even though it looked oddly shaped. Some attendees whispered that it looked more like a prosthetic bump than a real pregnancy. As the party reached its peak, with champagne glasses clinking and a DJ playing upbeat music, Tiffany took the stage. She tapped the microphone, her face aglow under the stage lights. "Thank you, everyone, for celebrating this incredible journey with me. My baby, our baby, has been a true blessing. I couldn't have done this without your love and support." The crowd applauded, some from genuine belief in her story, others from curiosity or fear of social backlash. Suddenly, from the back of the hall, the doors swung open. Olivia stepped in, cradling baby Jameson in her arms, flanked by Ethan on one side and Jade on the other. The room fell into a hush, save for the gasps and the clicking of cameras. Tiffany froze, her hand still on her artificially swollen belly. An electric tension gripped the room. Tiffany's eyes flickered with both fury and fear as she saw Olivia approach the stage, baby in tow. "What are you doing here?" Tiffany spat into the microphone, trying to maintain her composure. "This is my special day," Olivia, her voice trembling yet firm, responded. "I'm here because you lied about being pregnant with my husband's child, and you've strung everyone along in a cruel web of deceit. It's time everyone knows the truth." The hush in the hall intensified. Even the waiters holding trays of hors d'oeuvres paused to witness the showdown. Tiffany forced a laugh. "Why would I lie? The father of my child is standing right beside you. Isn't that right, Ethan?" She shot him a desperate look, attempting to reassert her influence. But Ethan's shoulders squared, stepped forward, and took the mic from Olivia. "We have proof," he said steadily. "Tiffany, there is no child. You posted fake ultrasounds. You never gave birth. And I'm filing a lawsuit for defamation and emotional distress on behalf of my family." The crowd rippled with shock and whispered accusations. Tiffany's face contorted, eyes darting around as if seeking an exit strategy. "You can't prove anything," she spat. She pressed a hand to her belly again, an almost comical gesture, as if trying to reassure the audience of her pregnancy. But in the harsh overhead lighting, a discernible outline of a silicone prosthetic became evident where her dress clung to her abdomen. Olivia took a step closer. I have my own child right here. A real baby with real DNA tests confirming Ethan is the father. And we have hospital records, medical staff testimonials, and photographic evidence that show you were never admitted for childbirth. She handed a stack of papers to a local news anchor who happened to be front and center, mouth agape. The anchor flipped through them, eyes widening at the authenticity. The hush broke into an uproar. Attendees shouted, "Is this true? Why would you do this?" Tiffany, cameras flashed, capturing Tiffany's look of horror. In a last-ditch effort, Tiffany clutched the mic again and screamed, "They're lying. They're all lying. This is a conspiracy against me." The fiasco reached a breaking point. Tiffany tried to flee the stage, but a wave of reporters and onlookers rushed forward, blocking her path. Some demanded an explanation. Others snapped photos of her tear-streaked face. Under the bright lights, the once poised influencer began to unravel. Her carefully curated persona collapsed under the weight of undeniable evidence. Ethan signaled Michael Langston, who was stationed near the entrance with a small team of legal aides. They handed out official copies of the lawsuit, complete with cease and desist demands for Tiffany to retract her statements and social media posts immediately. Tiffany's hands shook as she read the legal jargon, tears smearing her mascara. In desperation, she shouted, "Fine. Maybe I exaggerated. But Ethan and I were together, and he betrayed me. He told me he loved me," her last-ditch attempt to cast blame back on Ethan. The crowd, however, had witnessed enough. Any sympathy they might have had for her vanished in the face of her blatant deceit about a pregnancy. Instead, they questioned her moral compass, leaving Tiffany isolated in a room that once hailed her as a guest of honor. Realizing the spectacle was devolving into chaos, Olivia gently cradled Jameson and turned to leave. Jade guided her through the swirling masses of gawking attendees. Ethan followed behind, the tension in his posture, easing now that the confrontation had taken place. In the corridor outside, they found a moment of collective release. Olivia's eyes brimmed with tears, not of sorrow, but of relief. She held her baby close, cherishing the realness of his tiny weight in her arms. For Tiffany, the night was nothing short of cataclysmic. As the last of the guests filtered out, she crouched behind the stage, tearful and frantic. Her phone buzzed non-stop with notifications, mostly condemnation, some demands for refunds from sponsors, and many severed business ties. Her hunger for fame and fortune had left her exposed. In that cold, empty venue, she realized just how badly she had overplayed her hand. In the following weeks, life in Brookfield Heights slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy for Olivia and Ethan, though the scars of betrayal and public drama ran deep. Olivia recuperated from childbirth with the unwavering support of her family. Her mother, Victoria, spent days preparing nutritious meals, while Jade provided a watchful ear for Olivia's emotional ups and downs. Ethan, reeling from guilt, made every effort to mend the rift in his marriage. He attended counseling sessions alongside Olivia, admitting to his weaknesses and the lure of Tiffany's world. The sessions were raw, filled with tears and confessions. Olivia unleashed her pain, speaking of how she felt undeserving of betrayal, especially while carrying their child. Ethan took it all in, unsure if he would ever be forgiven, but determined to become a better man and father. Meanwhile, Tiffany's life spiraled downward. The lawsuit forced her to retract her claims publicly. She posted a half-hearted apology video on her social media in which she tearfully confessed that her pregnancy had been staged. She insisted she had been manipulated by unnamed parties and that her mental health had deteriorated during her time with Ethan. Most viewers saw it as yet another attempt to shift blame, offering little in the way of genuine remorse. Brands that once clamored for her endorsements now distanced themselves. Influencers who had attended her ill-fated baby shower posted disclaimers clarifying they had been duped. Local tabloids printed sensational headlines about her downfall, from faking babies to losing everything. Read one. In a desperate bid for sympathy, Tiffany granted an exclusive interview to a TV gossip show, tearfully detailing a difficult childhood and repeated betrayals by men. Even this interview backfired as viewers questioned her sincerity. Yet even with her reputation in tatters, Tiffany clung to a shred of notoriety. Some of her loyal followers empathized, claiming she was just a misunderstood soul. But no matter how hard she tried, the overarching narrative was that she had faked a pregnancy for attention and nearly destroyed a family in the process. Meanwhile, the Harrington household's daily rhythm found new meaning. Jameson was a source of unbridled joy, his laughter, tiny fists grasping at Ethan's finger, and the way he settled against Olivia's chest made every challenge worthwhile. The sleepless nights were tough, especially given the emotional toll of the past few months, but they also provided moments of intimacy. At 3 in the morning, while Olivia fed Jameson and Ethan rubbed her shoulders, they felt a profound sense of unity, one they had almost lost forever. In therapy, Olivia wrestled with whether she could forgive Ethan. She believed in second chances, but was also wary of repeating past mistakes. Trust, once broken, required time and concrete gestures to rebuild. Ethan respected her boundaries, offering complete transparency with his phone, his schedule, and a vow never to hide anything from her again. Although the sting of betrayal still lingered, Olivia recognized that Ethan's remorse was genuine. One day, in a counseling session, Ethan presented Olivia with a handwritten letter. In it, he detailed every step that led him astray: his fascination with Tiffany's glamorous lifestyle, his ego that thrived on her admiration, and his guilt for not cherishing Olivia's steadfast love. It was a painful read, but it was also an honest account that made Olivia believe there could be a path forward, however long and winding. Externally, the community's sympathy largely rested with Olivia and Jameson. Her sincerity and grace throughout the ordeal resonated with neighbors who, though once enthralled by Tiffany's scandalous storyline, now rallied around the Harrington family. Friends dropped off casseroles, baby gifts, and supportive messages. Even the local newspaper, the Brookfield Post, wrote an editorial praising Olivia's composure under extraordinary circumstances. Among those who reached out was a woman named Rebecca Samuels, who claimed she had been a victim of Tiffany's manipulative tactics years ago. Through a private message, Rebecca explained how Tiffany had spread false rumors about her to climb the social ladder, nearly costing Rebecca her job. Intrigued, Olivia invited Rebecca to share her story over coffee at a local cafe. Rebecca, a soft-spoken woman with kind eyes, detailed how she had once managed a small boutique where Tiffany worked briefly as a brand promoter. Tiffany had started as a sweet, if somewhat naive, employee, but soon money disappeared from the register, items went missing, and Tiffany spread rumors that Rebecca was an incompetent boss. "I felt so betrayed," Rebecca said, tears glistening in her eyes. "Eventually, I left the boutique because I couldn't take the drama." Tiffany thrived on it. Listening to Rebecca, Olivia realized she wasn't alone in her ordeal. Tiffany's pattern of deceit stretched far back, leaving a trail of victims. The knowledge, oddly enough, was comforting. Olivia was reminded that this fiasco was never truly about her or Ethan's perceived inadequacies. It was Tiffany's own moral failing. It was a twisted relief that eased some of Olivia's lingering insecurities. With Rebecca's support, Olivia found the courage to move beyond victimhood. She immersed herself in caring for Jameson and resumed her interior design projects part-time. Work offered a therapeutic outlet, allowing her to express creativity while setting boundaries. She no longer felt the need to overextend or please everyone. Her sense of self, once shattered, began to rebuild, stronger than ever. As the lawsuit inched forward, Tiffany's legal troubles compounded. She faced not only defamation claims from the Harringtons, but also potential fraud charges for forging medical documents. While forging an ultrasound might not carry the same weight as more severe crimes, the fact that she used these documents to defame and extort money could escalate her penalties. Michael Langston kept Olivia and Ethan updated on every development. His strategy was methodical, aimed at securing a settlement that would formally require Tiffany to apologize and financially compensate the Harringtons for emotional distress and reputational damage. Even if the monetary sum wasn't significant, the point was to hold her accountable. In the midst of depositions and evidence submissions, Tiffany's once glamorous facade cracked in public. She tried to play the victim card again, crying about her mental health issues, but the sincerity of her claims was overshadowed by the gravity of her actions. Sponsor after sponsor withdrew and her follower count plummeted. Online comments turned vicious. Even those who once adored her felt betrayed. All the while, Olivia felt conflicting emotions. She hated Tiffany for the pain she had caused, but also pitied her. The idea of a person so desperate for attention that they would fake a pregnancy haunted Olivia. In a strangely empathetic twist, she wondered if Tiffany ever experienced real love, or if she was trapped in a cycle of lies, always searching for validation that never came. Still, empathy didn't negate the necessity of justice, and Olivia refused to drop the lawsuit. Against the backdrop of these legal machinations, Olivia and Ethan made steady progress in their personal healing. They spent weekends at local parks pushing Jameson in his stroller, breathing in fresh air that seemed to cleanse the residue of scandal. They shared quiet dinners at home, reintroducing themselves to each other's lives in honest conversations. Often tears were shed, but they were followed by understanding and a cautious hope for the future. One pivotal moment came when Ethan revisited the church where they had married alone. He lit a candle for their marriage, reflecting on the vows he had broken and the man he wanted to become. Standing at the altar where he once stood with Olivia, he felt a wave of regret wash over him. But it was also a turning point. He resolved to remain steadfast, loyal, and honest. That night, he shared the experience with Olivia, who listened in a thoughtful silence, her hand resting on his. She didn't promise immediate forgiveness, but she acknowledged his growth. Meanwhile, Jade got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Marcus. The family excitement offered a counterbalance to the negativity from Tiffany's fiasco. Discussions about wedding plans, dresses, and venues filled the Harrington home. Jade made a point of including Olivia in every detail, hoping to remind her that love, commitment, and new beginnings could still be celebrated. Olivia found joy in choosing bridesmaid dresses and picking colorful palettes, even as she navigated her own emotional labyrinth. Finally, the lawsuit reached its conclusion. Faced with mounting evidence and dwindling funds, Tiffany agreed to a settlement. In a formal statement, she publicly admitted to fabricating the pregnancy and apologized for the harm she caused the Harringtons. She also paid a nominal sum in damages, though the amount was far less important than the symbolic victory. The Harringtons found solace in the legal acknowledgement of Tiffany's wrongdoing. Local media reported on the settlement, with headlines like "Justice Served in Brookfield Heights Baby Scandal" and "Tiffany Caldwell Admits to Faking Pregnancy." Many tabloids dissected Tiffany's downfall, some analyzing the psychological factors behind her lies, others gleefully picking apart her once lavish lifestyle. Meanwhile, Olivia and Ethan chose not to revel publicly. They focused on healing quietly, acknowledging that though they had won a public battle, the road to rebuilding trust in their marriage was still ongoing. Yet they had reason to hope. With the litigation behind them, the entire fiasco felt like a closed chapter. They could raise Jameson without the constant shadow of scandal looming over them. Family gatherings became joyous occasions, unburdened by the tension of unanswered questions. Friends visited to admire the baby, bringing gifts and well wishes. The Harringtons, once defined by drama, were embracing a fresh start. One afternoon, several months after the lawsuit ended, Olivia found herself strolling through Maplewood Lane with Jameson in a baby carrier strapped to her chest. She passed the neat suburban houses, blooming flower beds, and friendly neighbors who waved from their porches. This was her sanctuary, the place she once felt safe, but nearly lost to heartbreak and gossip. Now she held her son close, inhaling the sweet scent of possibilities. Ethan caught up with her, having jogged from the driveway. "I thought I might join you too," he said, slightly out of breath, but smiling. Olivia nodded, offering a small smile in return. They walked side by side in a contented silence. For a few minutes, the sun warm on their skin. Jameson gurgled happily, fascinated by the world outside. Eventually, Ethan cleared his throat. "I've been thinking a lot about our future," he began carefully. "I know I broke your trust, and I'll always regret the pain I caused. But if you can see a way forward, I promise I'll do whatever it takes to make our family strong." He paused, glancing at Olivia, who kept her gaze on Jameson's curious eyes. She took a moment to respond, torn between caution and the part of her heart that still held love for her husband. "Our relationship will never be what it was, but maybe that's a good thing," she said at last. "We have a chance to build something more authentic, no illusions, no secrets. I'm willing to try if you are." He nodded, relieved, tears shining in his eyes. They both understood it would be a process requiring patience, empathy, and honesty. But for the first time since Tiffany's revelations, they truly believed in the possibility of redemption. They continued their walk, forging each step as a promise that life's harshest lessons could lead to profound growth. In the months that followed, Olivia and Ethan indeed began forging a new path for their marriage. Coupled with therapy, they instituted weekly family nights where they cooked together, read books to Jameson, and discussed their weeks. Occasionally, they had disagreements. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight, but they learned to communicate with an honesty previously absent. Olivia also discovered new facets of her identity. Beyond being a wife or mother, she recognized her talent and passion for interior design. She secured a prestigious project to redesign the children's ward of Brookfield General Hospital. The job was personally fulfilling, allowing her to incorporate fun, uplifting designs to ease pediatric patients' anxieties. She threw herself into the project, and her dedication paid off when the hospital board applauded the final reveal. Ethan found redemption in giving back to the community. He set up free legal clinics on weekends, offering advice to low-income residents who couldn't afford representation. It was the type of altruism that renewed his sense of moral clarity. Reflecting on his affair with Tiffany, he understood that part of him had been searching for excitement in all the wrong places. Now, he found meaning in service and genuine connection. Word reached them that Tiffany had left Brookfield Heights for Los Angeles, where she hoped to salvage her social media career. Rumors suggested she might rebrand as a wellness advocate, trying to harness pity and curiosity to remain relevant. Olivia's reaction to hearing Tiffany's plans was subdued. The anger that once flared inside her had cooled to a distant memory. She wished Tiffany would find a healthier path, though she doubted her sincerity. Ultimately, it was no longer Olivia's problem. She had her own life to live. As time rolled on, the community largely forgot about Tiffany's hoax. New scandals arose, fresh rumors captivated the local gossip mills, and the Harrington drama faded into the annals of Brookfield Heights tabloid history. For Olivia and Ethan, that was a welcome relief. Their family flourished. By Jameson's first birthday, they had settled into a peaceful routine. The big day arrived with balloons, a homemade cake, and a modest gathering of close friends and family. Jade, married to Marcus by then, was pregnant herself, and the sisters joked about their children growing up as best friends. In a tender moment, during Jameson's party, Ethan drew Olivia aside. He handed her a small box, inside of which lay a new wedding band. "I know we're still healing," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I wanted to give you this as a symbol of the vows we're recommitting to each other this time, with deeper understanding and honesty." Olivia took the ring, tears shimmering. "Thank you," she whispered, slipping it onto her finger alongside her original wedding ring. It felt like a renewal of their bond, born from the ashes of betrayal. The cheers of their family and the giggles of Jameson in the background wrapped them in a moment of pure joy. That evening, after everyone had gone home and Jameson was asleep in his crib, Olivia and Ethan sat in the living room, savoring the quiet. The only light came from a small lamp, casting a warm, gentle glow. Olivia stroked the new wedding band, reflecting on the past year, its horror, heartbreak, and strangely enough, its blessings. "You know," she said softly, "if Tiffany hadn't come into our lives, we might have continued on autopilot, ignoring the real issues in our relationship. We might never have confronted our weaknesses." Ethan nodded, understanding the paradox. "It's strange, but in some twisted way, her lies forced me to face the truth about myself." He squeezed Olivia's hand. "I'm so sorry, Liv, for everything." She accepted his apology, not for the first time, but with a growing sense of peace. "We're stronger now," she said, resting her head against his shoulder. "Not perfect, but stronger." The hush enveloped them, a soothing lullaby that signaled the end of their storm. Within that peaceful silence, they felt a mutual resolve to nurture their relationship with authenticity and courage, ensuring it would weather any future tempests. Tiffany had meant to destroy their family, but in the end, her deceit had only welded them closer. A year later, life in the Harrington household looked remarkably ordinary, and that was a blessing. Ordinary meant stable, secure, and loving. Jameson was now toddling around, eager to explore every corner of the house. His laughter echoed through the rooms, a testament to the family's resilience. Olivia and Ethan, still attending occasional therapy sessions, felt the last of their wounds healing. One Saturday, as Olivia flipped through an old scrapbook containing photos from their wedding, her eyes landed on a snapshot. She and Ethan were dancing, lost in each other's eyes. The memory sparked an unshakable gratitude within her. They had been so young, so idealistic. They had stumbled, fallen, and nearly lost it all. But they had clawed their way back to each other, forging a bond shaped by lessons and humility. That afternoon, they visited Ethan's mother, Adeline, for a family barbecue. The air was thick with the aroma of grilled vegetables and fresh-cut grass. Jade and Marcus arrived with their newborn daughter, Lily, who was only a few weeks old. Olivia's parents, Richard and Victoria, laughed as they passed the babies around. Even Michael Langston dropped by, bringing a gift for Jameson, an oversized stuffed teddy bear. Over hamburgers and lemonade, they reminisced about the ordeal they had all survived. Yet the conversation carried a tone of relief rather than bitterness. In that communal circle, they realized that adversity had tightened their bonds, teaching them the value of honesty, compassion, and unity. Eventually, as dusk settled and fireflies sparkled in the yard, Olivia leaned against Ethan's shoulder. They both watched Jameson waddle around, chasing his cousin Lily in adorable baby steps. It felt like a preview of the many memories they would create in the future: family gatherings, holidays, birthdays. Their story wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, the chapters ahead promised hope, stability, and hard-earned love. As the sun sets on Brookfield Heights, Olivia and Ethan's tale reminds us that even the darkest storms can yield new dawns. Their journey, filled with deception, heartbreak, and unexpected revelations, ultimately became a crucible that forged their marriage anew. Where there was betrayal, they discovered honesty. Where Tiffany sowed lies, they found the courage to stand for the truth. Above all, they nurtured a love that grew stronger through adversity, holding tight to their precious son, Jameson. Thank you for joining us on this emotional roller coaster of love, loss, and redemption. If this story captivated you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that hope can outshine the darkest times, and subscribe to this channel for more stories that inspire, challenge, and move you. Together, we'll explore life's twists and turns and emerge with hearts wide open.